Hey there, welcome to Factually. I'm Adam Conover. Thanks for joining me on the show again. You know, normally on this show, at least when we got started, we were only having experts, authors, scientists, journalists, people like that. The more we've done this show, the more I've just wanted to have on people who I think are interesting, who I really want to talk to, who I think have a interesting perspective on the world that you might not have heard before, and that can show you how things look from their little corner of the universe. And we have one of those interviews for you today. This week on the show, I have one of my very favorite new comics who I think you probably haven't heard of, but I think you're going to hear a lot more about soon. His name is Benny Feldman. I saw him for the first time in New York a couple years ago. He's an absolutely incredible, unique joke writer with a very strange way of looking at the world. He does one-liners, very sweet, almost psychedelic comedy. He also happens to have Tourette Syndrome, which manifests in a really interesting way in his comedy. I think he uses that condition in a way that's very different from the way a lot of other comics do, or at least that I find very interesting as a comedian. And also, the way he talks about it on stage really makes me interested in Tourette's itself as a condition and what the experience of having it is like. And, you know, I started talking with him about it off mic, you know, just in the process of getting to know each other. And it really made me start thinking differently about myself and my own sort of neurological differences from other people and how those show up in my comedy. So he happens to be in LA, and I said, you know what, let's get Benny on the show and talk about all this stuff, because I think he's just a fascinating guy, really sweet, incredibly funny person. And if you haven't heard of his comedy, I know you're going to be a fan after this interview. Now, before we get to it, I want to remind you that if you want to support the show and all the conversations we bring you every single week, head to patreon.com/Adam Conover, $5 a month. Every episode of the show, ad-free, community book club, all those other great things. Patreon.com/Adam Conover. And if you want to come see me do stand-up comedy live on the road, well, coming up soon, I'm headed to Tacoma, Washington and Spokane, Washington in October, Des Moines, Iowa, and Atlanta, Georgia in November, followed by Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On November 15th, I'll be at the Bell House in Brooklyn for the New York Comedy Festival. Benny himself is going to be opening for me at that show. And then after that, in December, I'll be in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Theater and Pittsburgh, PA at Bottle Rocket Social Club. Head to adamconover.net for tickets. I'd love to see you out there. And now, without further ado, let's get to this conversation with the very funny, very interesting Benny Feldman.
Tourette's is sort of the abstract art of disabilities. A lot of people are like, I could do that. I want to record an album in front of an entirely Tourette's crowd and release it as the first experimental noise album in comedy. See if I can. All right, that's all the Tourette stuff I'm gonna do for now, dude. I don't give a fuck about it. See if I can. I feel like regional pizza is just like one Italian guy went to a city in 1910 and forgot how to make pizza. He like put the sauce on top of the cheese. Somebody's like, yo, you fucked up. He's like, it's Chicago. See if I can. My roommate's been recording a lullaby album. So at night I have to bang on his door and go, hey, turn that up, I'm trying to sleep. Shit, fucking. I went on a date recently and the girl said, did you know that Emily Dickinson only became famous after she died? I was like, oh, word? That's the same for dinosaurs. If you're a squirrel who lives underwater in a biodome, and your best friend is a sponge, you might be a redneck.
Dude, Benny, thanks for being on the show, man.
Good to be here, dude. What's up? Thanks for having me on.
I'm so excited to have you on. You've been one of my favorite comics since the first time I saw you.
Thanks, man.
A couple years ago. And your stuff, you do really well on the internet, too. Why do you think that is?
I appreciate that. Well, my jokes are short, and so it's a short form situation. People complain, they're like, you gotta fit your jokes into a clip, and I'm like, it's fine for me.
And you like put up clips of you'll like remix, you'll do the same joke in a clip, it'll be in a different part of the clip or whatever.
I try to do that. If I put a joke out, I try to not do the same joke for like a year or so, or like a certain amount of time. People notice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to just spam the same clown car joke or whatever over and over again.
Yeah. How'd you get into comedy?
Oh, you're jumping all over. Okay. I've had different friends who have kind of like pushed me.
Yeah.
So like improv back in the day or stand up improv was my friend Patrick West was like, you should try out for the college improv team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did. And I was like, oh shit, this is a lot of fun. And I ended up doing that.
Yeah.
And then my friend Lauren Ellis was like, we should do stand up sets. But we were underage and we weren't able to like get into the bar and we kind of chickened out. But I really liked writing the stand up set. So then I kind of kept going with that. And then I ended up doing like Drexel open mics. That's the college I went to.
You did not do the open mics because you were worried you get kicked out for being underage.
The ones in Philadelphia, yeah. Well, because in fact, I actually did sneak in to one when I was 19, and the guy, shout out Pete Steele, who I then met later. He crowd worked me. He was like, "Dude, you look like you're way too young to be in this bar right now." And I like was, and I was like, "All right, I won't come back until I'm allowed." Because I got called out immediately. Day one.
But the comic's not getting you kicked out of the bar.
Oh yeah, but the bartender noticed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Okay, the comic is alerting everybody around. To what's
everybody
going
in the room noticed.
Yeah. And tell me about the Tourette's piece. Like, how does that interact with your work?
And I've got Tourette Syndrome.
Yeah.
I have it. I'm not that interested in jokes about it. I mean, I am, I just do have it, and that's sort of like a neutral thing to me. And I am interested in, that sort of that representation side of things being like, yes, I've got Tourette's and it's okay.
Well, you do. Let me take it back because the reason I asked,
just running through the.
Should we start over? Should we start over?
No. You're a good joke writer as well.
Oh, thank you for saying so. That's really nice of you. My joke writing I've crafted is like more obvious when it's tight the way that you do it.
I appreciate. I think I'm just doing jokes, and you're doing also sort of stories and narrative and long form idea structure.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, it's within that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when I write a joke, I feel like I hope I'm like, I want to say something, and then I put some words together in a way that I hope will get like a reaction, but I'm like, it's probably not going to. But like, I hope that it does, just because I want to get the thought out and I want it to get over with the audience, and I know they expect a punchline, and then I'm sort of like pleasantly surprised after doing that for a while. Oh, I've like written a bunch of things that people recognize as jokes, but it's like rarely my intention to like write a specific joke. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's really interesting.
I feel like yours are like, you're like, I've got you, I can feel you crafting it.
I've got like almost the opposite thing where like sometimes I'll tell a joke and somebody will be like, oh, that has this secondary narrative meaning. And I'm like, oh, what? I didn't intend that. But I'm very intentionally like trying to write like a hyperbole or a metaphor or something.
Yeah. And your stuff is very like, I almost want to say psychedelic a little bit when I talk about your material. You're one of those comics when I watch you, I'm like,
yours is like Adderall.
Fuck. Yeah. That's it's like a little too intense and try hard, and a little bit like, whoa, take it. I wish this guy could relax.
The first act you can snort. So
yours is like, when I watch you, I'm like, oh, I wish my mind worked the way that yours works.
I appreciate when people tell me that. I'm like, I don't think that my mind is some sort of like specific, unique thing. I think I'm doing knowable idea structures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like also people will be like, oh, I want to live in your mind. And I'm like, I'm eating a sandwich. You know what I mean? I appreciate that as the compliment. But I think that it's like cooking. Like, I think there's like knowable things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
There's like a recipe that you can put together to make a joke.
Yeah. Yes, I do actually believe so.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, everybody disagrees with me, but I'm like, well, your recipes are just bad. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, and not to be formulaic.
Yeah.
But that's like, you don't like eat a delicious chicken pasta or something and go like, that's a little derivative. You know what I mean? It's like you can still have it be good.
Yeah, comedy has structure like anything else does.
Of course.
But let's get into the Tourette's piece a little bit. Because what I think is interesting about the way that you write about it, it's part of your act. It's you seem to be aware that when people see you for the first time, it's like the most obvious, memorable thing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, hold on. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, I kind of want to see this. But your act is about it in an interesting way. You do have jokes about it, but you're not. Well, tell me how you think about it.
Totally. Okay, I was kind of saying I don't care about it before, but I do. It's more of like a that I'm a little bit numb to it, or it's like very like, I don't know. I don't think it's not like I'm actively thinking about it, or it's like a pressing matter to me.
Yeah.
But I do care about it in the sense of like, I would like the crowd to have a more positive idea of people with Tourette's, or to get rid of any sort of stereotypes they might have in their mind about like, oh, people with Tourette's are also weird in XYZ way. Because I think there is a, especially when you're like a kid, kids with Tourette's are often ostracized, and there can be a sort of like, I think like downward spiraling pattern or social reinforcement thing where like they get forced to be weird, or they're seen as weird. And so then like, you know what I mean? So I think people can possibly have a negative opinion of Tourette's or something.
But people also
I
have,
don't know if that's true, but
they also have a certain positive fascination with it.
Yeah.
Like of all of the disabilities or conditions one could have, it's one that I think people find more interesting than others, right?
Well, people, honestly, people are really weird to me about it.
Yeah.
People will tell me I'm like brave for performing with Tourette's, and I'm like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Why?
Like, well, it's like as if it's something that I should be afraid of having or embarrassed about or something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Or like, it's like they think that I shouldn't, I don't know. Or like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it came, the onset of it was for you was like later in life, right?
Yeah. I had milder tics growing up. I had like more of like a head shaking one and like a throat clearing thing. And I had longer hair. So we thought it was me getting my hair out of my eyes. But when I got a haircut, that's when my parents said that they realized that it was something else, because they were like, I kept doing it. But then when
you kept doing what?
I kept doing like the head shake stuff.
Oh, they like thought that you were just getting
the
your hair out of your eyes, and then you got a haircut, and they were like, he's still trying to get his fucking hair.
That's right.
Look at that.
That's
kid.
right. Phantom hair.
What's
syndrome.
going on with this kid?
I actually don't have Tourette's. I just have phantom mullet. That's what I got. But I did have like a mullet for a while. But yeah, basically when I was like 21, I did psychedelics. And that has some sort of serotonin thing that it does. And Tourette's seems to be a serotonin imbalance. I don't know for sure if that is what caused it, because I also have family members who also had late onset Tourette's.
And you had some tics before that?
I had some tics before. I think that the psychedelics exacerbated it. It's hard to exactly tell the timeline. The timeline is like sort of like I did them, and then I had kind of like hallucinations and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm. It seems like I'm probably predisposed to like schizophrenia and stuff like that, because I was having like auditory hallucinations and paranoia for a while. But as that kind of faded in, it's kind of like this 8-month timeline where I started to have Tourette's, and I'm dead honest with you. I straight up think that some of the noises I was hearing in my head, I'm just doing out loud.
Wow.
But that's really like anecdotal pseudoscience that they need to study it in like a more controlled.
I'm going to guess you're not doing psychedelics anymore.
No, it really, listen, I would love to, but
yeah,
I'm really
you
afraid
seem
to do
like
it.
a psychedelic kind of, you seem like that kind of guy.
Yes.
You seem like you could be a white guy with dreadlocks at a Fish concert, and
maybe not the dreadlocks, but absolutely. And maybe if I did enough and I was like, all right, we're all
You're
one
wearing
race,
cutoff jean shorts that you embroidered yourself.
That's right. I messed up this dragonfly. I got to fix them, but yeah.
but you're no more. You're like, this would make things worse.
I'm very afraid that it would. People always ask, they're like, well, have you tried doing psychedelics again? And I'm like, that's crazy. That's
to undo it.
To undo it is their. But I don't know. I think it's
you need new friends, man. It's like the worst advice.
I literally think there's something to that, but I don't want to do it though.
Well, it's funny about psychedelics because people say there's so much research and people talking about like the benefits of psychedelics, and like the metaphor people use. It's like, oh, you're like reshuffling the cards or something. You're like opening up new pathways.
Yeah.
But like, maybe there's some pathways that shouldn't be opened in some cases.
Dude, I feel bad being like a little bit of a poster child for like, don't do it. Because I'm kind of like, listen, do it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But and yet, maybe not if you have a family history of schizophrenia and you've got some some recurring tics and things like that. Maybe something to be aware of.
Yeah, I don't have a family history of schizophrenia, so I wasn't afraid of that. No, why? It seems like I might, or like some sort of latent thing. But I do have a family history of like pretty intense OCD stuff. So that's what I've got with the Tourette's as well.
Does OCD go with Tourette's?
It can often, very frequently comorbid. Yeah.
They kind of seem like there's something in common, right? Because OCD, often the experience of like there's a thought you can't get out of or a thought you can't stop thinking.
I literally think of OCD as slow wave Tourette's.
Whoa.
Like Tourette's is like, I'm very like, but then like OCD is more like for 10 minutes, I'm like, gotta touch my head. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So, on top of being a comedian and a podcaster, you might be surprised to learn that I'm technically a small business owner. Not out of choice, but, this is a big production here, and there's a lot of folks who help me behind the scenes. We got Sam, who helps me research all the videos. We got Andra, who helps me write them. We got Tony here, who helps produce them and put these ads together, and all those people need to get paid. And you know what? I'm a comedian, not a CEO. So you know what makes all of that payment a lot more easy? Gusto. I let Gusto handle all the hard work of payroll for my operation. They're an online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses like mine and hey, maybe like yours. They're all in one, remote friendly, and this software is so easy to use. It lets me pay, hire, onboard, and support my team from anywhere. And my payroll is pretty simple. We just got a couple freelancers here, but Gusto is ready to be as complex as you need. They have automatic payroll tax filing. They have simple direct deposits. They have health benefits, commuter benefits, workers' comp, 401k, you name it. Gusto makes it simple and has options for nearly every budget. You can also save time with automated tools built right in. They got offer letters, onboarding materials, direct deposits, and more. You can get all HR up in this business if you want to. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/factually. And get this, you get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 free months of free payroll at gusto.com/factually. One more time, gusto.com/factually. And hey, maybe hire me. I could use some extra work too. I'm on the road a lot, and when I'm not cozy at home in my own bed, I often have a lot of trouble falling asleep. Right now I'm on stand-up tour, and that means a lot of stops in unfamiliar hotels. And if you also struggle with sleep, well, you should consider AGZ. AGZ is a melatonin-free formula with clinically studied herbs, adaptogens, and minerals. I know that when I don't get good sleep, I struggle the next day. And, I definitely want to be struggling when I'm up on stage trying to entertain you folks. But AGZ says that they can help you make the most of your day by helping you to unwind before bed, optimize the quality of your sleep during the night, and to help you wake up feeling well-rested without grogginess. AGZ says they do this with a clinically tested form of magnesium, which has been shown to improve sleep quality and support cognitive function. Each serving of AGZ delivers 250 milligrams of highly bioavailable magnesium, providing over half of your daily value. So if you want to start taking your sleep seriously with AGZ, head to drinkag1.com/factually to get a free welcome kit with the flavor of your choice that includes a 30-day supply of AGZ and a free frother. That's drinkag1.com/factually. What is the experience of having a tic like?
It honestly feels good. So a quick little disclaimer. Tourette's is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody experiences different things, and its severity levels are different. My Tourette's looks more severe, but I do think that when I'm calm, it's more calm. And I have one thing called the premonitory urge, where if I feel it coming, I can stop it if I want to. But okay, I'll go down that path in a second.
Sure.
And then the other thing is that I'm able to redirect them to some degree. So some people will have physically painful Tourette's tics. I have those once in a while.
Like it's painful. Like the urge is painful, or the tick that you do is painful to yourself.
Not that the urge is painful, but I'll come back to that in a second because that is a little bit of a different thing.
Okay.
But the tick itself, people have tics where they like hit themselves, or strain different muscles, or do some things so frequently that it can make certain muscles sore.
Yeah.
The main ones that hurt myself are like I'll have like I've got neck pulling ones that I've done every now and again.
Ooh.
And that fucking sucks. I've done it on stage like a few times. I just have to like power through it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk about, I don't know, the Lorax or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the premonitory urge thing, people say that Tourette's is involuntary as opposed to involuntary.
Huh.
Involuntary is, you're forced to do it, or whatever. But involuntary is like blinking, where like you can hold blinking if you need to, but most of the time it just happens automatically. But then
Right.
blinking, but
Right. I can hold my eyes open,
right,
like for a bit if I try, but only for so long.
exactly.
And then when I'm not thinking about it, I'm just like constantly blinking. I'm not thinking about it. And I can also blink on purpose if I like.
Exactly. And that's stimming. Yeah.
Oh, like if I were to blink a lot, maybe it makes me feel better because I'm stimming in some way.
Exactly. And we can talk about how stimming is different in autism and Tourette's community a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's called involuntary. And it's just the one to wrap that idea up. If you hold your eyes open for a while, you really feel like you have to blink or whatever.
Yeah.
Same for holding the Tourette's. If I hold the Tourette's for too long, it's like it's like a really, that sensation is extremely hard to describe the internal sensation.
Yeah.
But it's just this deep urge to do it.
Yeah.
The actual thing itself can just kind of feel like a muscle spasm or tensing or something, but it can feel good.
If you were to like how long can you hold it?
Oh, wow. I don't think, I've never done a long-term endurance, like a staring contest, but with my body.
That's funny. It's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing you do
Yeah.
when you're a kid, where you're just like, oh, how long can I hold my breath? How long can I go without doing this or that? I'm almost surprised you haven't been like, well, let me just see.
Well, it becomes a little, I guess it does become uncomfortable quickly, that typically I haven't tried to hold it for as long as I can, but what I do is I redirect it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that, but the metaphor that they use for this one is like, imagine you're sledding down the hill, and if you keep sledding down the same path, that becomes more and more of like the sledded path, and so your sled goes that way. But you can try to go a different way, and if you do that enough times, the snow will cover the other path, and you'll make a new path. That's what they call. That's how you kind of redirect tics.
Interesting.
So, for example, I've done a couple slurs that I don't want to be doing, and I have to go like, all right, we're going a different slur.
Yeah.
No, we're going, you know what I mean? Or in a situation where I have to hold
a
it.
different slur.
Yeah.
a slur for, how about a slur for people that nobody likes?
That's right.
Or a
That's
slur
right.
for somebody who nobody has any problem with. And then
I start making up new ones.
Yeah. So you can like,
I almost say fuck, and I'm like, no, it's time to say the N word. No, I'm one of the few white boys with the actual pass, and I don't use it. You're welcome, America.
You have a pass because you have a condition, but you're like, but I don't. I'm not going to. Wow. Incredible.
I literally could be saying the N word all the time. I don't know. Anyway.
But no, you redirect in a different direction. Like,
look at that immense restraint.
So you told me once, like the tics like come and go, like you'll have like a period of one tic being sort of dominant, and then it'll be less so, or can you like get yourself out of the pattern of one so that you
for sure
like, I don't like this one, I want to stop doing it, and then you can work your way away from it.
Yeah, my newest one is New York.
That fucking rocks. Like if you live in New York, you walk around and you just go New York. Nobody has a problem with that.
It started in LA. While I've been here, it started, and I think it was like a little bit of a joke at first, but then I kept doing it, and I was like, oh no, I've done this to myself.
So it was just a joke you had said a couple times in conversation, and then you said it too many times, and you felt it like dig in as a tic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I'll say something that just like, hard to describe, but feels nice and smooth, and then it kind of settles into place, latches on.
Wow.
It's a little worm. It's a little barnacle on the whale of the ship. Or whatever.
Are there certain kinds of things that are more likely to become tics than others, whether words or movements?
Okay, well, so this kind of comes back to what we're talking about with redirecting it and stuff, and why I don't hold it for as long as I do. What I'll do is, if I've got like a tic that I don't like or something, I'll redirect it to one that I don't mind doing, or is more comfortable, or is fine for my body, or is more enjoyable, or something like that. And so those have more staying power, typically just because they don't suck as much to do, or I enjoy. So like this one, that one has been one of my longest ones for a while now because I like it.
I like that too.
It's fun.
Like I'm used to hearing you do that from hanging out.
It's one of the hits. You gotta play the hits.
Yeah, it's like kind of comfy. It's like a nice sound, you know. It's like you know what it also sounds like. One of the reasons I like it, it sounds like a raven. Ravens make that sound, and you hear them all around LA. Yeah, ravens will do like a crow. People want to know the difference between crows and ravens. People are always asking me, Adam, what's the difference between a crow and a raven? And among other differences, crows are smaller. Ravens tend to fly higher, but crows kind of go quack, right? But ravens do all these low clicking sounds, like they'll do like groans and grumbles, and they also will basically make that like,
oh yeah,
yeah. Okay. If you're in like you go in Griffith Park and you listen, you'll hear that sound.
Cool.
Yeah,
nice.
That's a raven tic.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, it's an omen of death. Yeah. If I do it at you, you're fucked. That's the thing. Yeah.
And I think I confront my own death every time I hear you do that. Yeah, I do have a vision of a skull.
It's not my only bird tick. I've got not that one. But I've got like kind of like a it's hard, it's weird. Sometimes they're hard to do without automatically doing them. But kind of like a like I've been kind of like making bird noises with my teeth.
That's a nice one.
Or something. Yeah.
This redirection and that kind of thing. And actually you're going to say, how do you undo a tic, you know?
Redirected a lot of times.
Yeah.
As many times as it takes to, and then you gently stop feeling that one's kind of pressure.
Yep.
But yeah, not everybody with Tourette's has the ability to redirect or can see them coming, which is called the premonitory urge.
That's what I was going to ask, is that there are folks with Tourette's who have less ability to redirect or control than you do.
Yes. And the premonitory urge, I'd say, it feels like I'm Neo in the Matrix, where like, the bullets are me on a slur on the subway, and I'm like, it's me redirecting it to...
You eat it.
That's me eating it and turning it into, Neo if he was a bird. Now,
how are there ways in which it makes your daily?
I like this idea of the Matrix, but with birds. Hold on, they're making like
let's stay there for a while.
Making a nest out of ones.
Okay. Oh, ones and zeros. Oh, they're like in the Matrix.
Yeah,
they're like they're digital birds.
Yup.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for that.
I mean, I would try to add on to it, but it's a very specific scenario you posited.
All the Agent Smiths.
Mm-hmm. They fill their nest with Agent Smith sunglasses. Yeah. There you go.
I like that. Okay.
Does it? Are there ways in which it makes your life a lot harder, or are you?
Not for me personally. Different people with Tourette's, yes, I would say so. It's one of those, some people with Tourette's, it's causing real physical harm, or it's causing employment difficulty in you can't do certain jobs and stuff. Me personally, and for a lot of people with Tourette's, it's more of like a light social embarrassment type thing. But I don't know, I'm a little bit like, I'm like, I don't care. But I think that's part of what I want to do with the comedy a little bit, with my messaging with the Tourette's, is also like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? And I think it is good to care, but it's also like a little bit of like it doesn't, like, I'm making these noises, but it's like, that's fine. You know what I mean? There's no reason for that to matter.
I mean, everybody makes noises, clears their throat and sneezes and coughs and makes little sounds and stuff. Yeah. So it's like, talking to you becomes very normal.
Yeah. It's like background noise, little white noise.
And I want to
put it on your podcast while going to bed. It's like white noise.
Putting on my podcast.
I always fuck with you. I don't know why I did a dig. I just thought it'd be funny to do a dig.
No, that's fine. It's a very, it's pretty sedate. There's not that many laughs. Mostly I'm just talking to academics who speak in quiet voices.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that came to mind from the idea of in your hour talk, when you were talking about listening to audiobooks while also doing other things.
Right. Yeah. So
I was trying to do a joke based on your joke, but it wasn't clear that
I appreciate that. No, yeah, that was a way that I deal with ADD, was try to do that like sort of sensory overload kind of thing, or like fill every orifice with like something to do, you know?
You find it easy to take tests if you had like gum or something?
Say again? Oh,
like if you were like, chewing gum helps focus on a test.
Yeah, chewing gum, or like having something to fidget with, having something to hold, helps you focus. If I'm watching a movie, it can be helpful to have something like that, because otherwise I'll like, if I'm watching a movie alone at home, I'll like pull my phone out during the movie. And that part of that's a phone problem, but it's also like, my eyes and my ears are occupied, but something's missing, like I want to touch or I want to do some other thing.
Right.
But I also, you mentioned stimming and like,
I want to come back to your tics and stuff.
Yeah. When I talked to you made me think about how like I have had stuff that I would loosely call a tic. I mean, is that
how that ended up in your hour? We kind of chatted about
maybe a little bit.
I wasn't in your hour when I saw you.
Yeah.
And then I saw the final thing. And I was like, wait a damn second.
Yeah. You opened for me in Baltimore and in New York. And then I eventually added some stuff about, how I have a couple like tics that help me with the ADD. I think it got me started thinking about it.
Now I've got a mouth guard.
Really?
Yeah.
We're all picking up things from each other. Yeah. I mean, like for a long time, I've had like a thing where I'll go, especially when I'm alone, I'll go like, like that. Like I'll sort of, when I'm with other people, a lot of times I'll rub my face and I'll make like a little sound like that. Or I'll like, slap my chest, or like, I'll do this.
You're going to give me some of these.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, but
I don't mean to.
No, it's all right.
Trigger.
People with Tourette's trigger each other like Alexas, as they say. Yeah.
Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Yeah, it's something I've done for most of my life, usually when I'm by myself, and I sort of like think of it as like a bit of excitement or something, like if I just, I don't know, if I had a good Zoom meeting, what a horrible sentence, but like, and I'm like in a good mood, and then I might go to the kitchen, I'm making some food, I might go like that, just like let a little bit of steam out. I think a smaller version of that, if I'm in public, if I'm on a plane, like maybe I'll like rub my nose a lot, or like scratch my arms or something.
The rub your nose one is one where I am doing it so constantly in my stand-up, and Zizek?
Slajov Zizek?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I constantly am doing the thing that he does.
Oh,
and
does he do that?
Like, he's like doing that all the time, and so am I, like on stage, and I'm like, I don't want to be doing that. I don't know.
Something about the nose.
It just feels a little gross.
Goes to the brainstem.
I don't know.
But yes, it's also disgusting to touch your nose so often.
Yeah.
And I worry about that.
I feel a little snotty on stage, and I'm kind of like, I would like to have a different tic. So I wish I had a tic where I was just like just mewing or whatever.
Mewing?
It's like that incel thing where they talk about like sticking your chin out to look like sexier.
If your tic was my tic was looking hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Striking a sexy pose, doing a perfect like bodybuilder pose.
Yeah, new tic where I fucking beat the shit out of the crowd.
My new tic is I just have to bench press like 300. But do you think that what I experience, which has never really been bothersome or a big part of my life, is there a similarity between that and a Tourette's tic in any way in your mind?
Absolutely. I mean, Tourette's is it's a type of tic disorder. It's under that umbrella, and what you would have would be perhaps some sort of tic disorder, maybe comorbid with like the ADHD or some shit. I don't know, but I'm not a doctor though. I just also
I'm not a doctor.
I have Tourette's, and I've been on Wikipedia. Which, by the way, it's interesting that the diagnosis criteria for Tourette's was that it was like you have to have vocal and motor tics. That's like the main thing. Yeah. And one of the other ones is like you have to be under 18. And I'm like, well, I was, and I did have it, but that kind of like really shifted after 21. So I'm like, maybe I just have like a old adult onset tic disorder beyond like I don't know. It's hard to.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't know.
Well, you really get into the territory of the human mind is mysterious, right? And like, how does this stuff happen, and what do we call it?
Yeah,
and the labels that we give these different like neurological phenomena are to some degree like made up, and the borders are fuzzy.
Absolutely.
But like, I guess I wouldn't identify as having a disorder because I don't think it like interferes with my life and people in the ADD community. I have had someone notice before when I was working on a show and it was like sort of a high tense moment. One of the executives asked one of my partners, like, why is Adam like rubbing his face so much? And that really pissed me off because I was like, I don't want to be observed in that way. Like, who gives a shit, you know? Like, I'm not hurting anybody, you know what I mean? But there have been like one or two times that was like, again, a high stress environment. And I was sort of like, you know, maybe behaving a little bit, I was a little bit agitated for a week or so.
Well, I think that tics, especially like tic disorders, you know, it's similar to nervous tics and they can heighten.
Mm-hmm.
So in stress or anxiety or embarrassment or whatever, they do heighten.
Yeah. I guess what I'm wondering is, because my first connection with it was, you know, when people in the ADD, ADHD community talk about stimming, I'm like, oh, maybe that's more what it's like. But the more we talk about it, the more I wonder, like, how much can most people relate in their lives to having the feeling of, oh, if I make this little movement, I'll let some steam out. You know, I'll get a little relief. And maybe people have that to varying degrees. And, you know, Tourette's is perhaps a concentration of that feeling in some way.
It could be.
Do you agree with that at all?
No, that makes complete sense. Yeah, I mean, because I don't know what degree other people feel the thing I'm feeling. But yeah, like stimming in the Tourette's community means doing the tic on purpose because it can feel good to do that.
Yeah.
And then I guess in the autism or other communities, it can mean sort of doing those as like more of like a self-soothing thing, maybe.
Yes.
But I don't know the degree to which those are necessarily different.
Right.
And it's hard to tell exactly.
And that's the thing in my own experience. I'm like, which of those is it? And how do I classify? All I mean is, when I met you and we started talking about this stuff, it made me reflect on my own experience.
Oh, sure.
Of like, oh yeah, okay. I relate to a little bit of this sometimes in my life to a lesser degree. And I find that really interesting. I think that is one of the valuable things about you sharing it with people.
Yeah. Is that other people get to go, oh, me too.
I got a little bit.
No, it is. Yeah. And if that can help validate people's like little experiences where they're like, oh, when I'm at the doctor, I know I go like this or whatever. And they're like, oh, I know where that's coming from now or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just like, like leg shaking a lot of people do. It's like, you know, so common. Let's talk about how you integrated into comedy. Like, first of all, I notice when you're on stage, you do it more. You do more tics than when, you know, just like having a conversation with you right after the show. Why is that?
Absolutely. That's going to be the heightened of adrenaline, the nerves, anxiety, etc. I honestly think it's interesting because I think it's like a homeostasis type thing where when I'm like normal and chilling, I have the fewest tics. But if I have caffeine or sugar or something or adrenaline or nerves, I have more. But also if I don't have enough caffeine, like if I go lower,
oh wow,
like if I'm too like if I'm kind of depressed or have like downers or something like alcohol or something, but that could be like an inhibition release. I also have more, so I have the least when I'm like normal amount of coffee or like, you know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah. What's a normal amount of coffee?
I try to have like 1 cup a day or like one, you know.
Fuck, I start with 3.
Dude.
Yeah.
But every cup is fucking different. So every day I'm like, you know.
The cold brew at this place, I mean,
I'm not touching that shit.
I had some of this at the top of the interview, and then we're talking about like rubbing my face, and I have like an overwhelming urge to like constantly touch my nose now, partially, but it feels like the cold brew. It's like the cold brew's fucking in there.
When I do it, does it make you feel it?
I think talking about it, yes, brings me more. I'm experiencing, I have more of an itchy face than usual, right? But also it happens, you know, I think it's connected to nervousness. I was on a date the other day and I felt myself like doing it a lot, you know? What you mean. And I was like, and I literally started going, wait, aren't like body language experts, like if you're covering your face, it means you're protecting yourself. You're like, and I was like, no, I must have an open face.
It's me on dates. Sorry, I have Tourette's. But I mean, one thing is that like, you know, I've got more Tourette's on like the first date than any other dates we're going to go on, which is so stupid. But I've also
because you're nervous on the first date.
Yeah. Or, you know, heightened the emotions generally for sure. Yeah. And then, I also don't put that I have Tourette's in my like dating profiles or whatever. And but I do try to tell people before we meet up, but sometimes I forget. Like, you know what I mean? And I've gone on like more than one day where I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Because it's not, I don't consider it a core part of my personality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, it's like a hat. You know what I mean? It's like I'm always wearing a hat.
You can take a hat off.
I know. But it's yeah, I mean, it's, but from like a core personality type perspective thing, it's not what I'm thinking about. It's not what I'm like engaging with on a daily. I mean, when it happens, I engage with it. But in the same way you would like tip a hat or adjust a hat. So it does feel like I'm sort of just always wearing this like, you know, like a big silly hat or something.
Yeah.
That which is fine. And I like the hat.
When you start your act, you say like you have one line about it just to like inform people that this is what the deal is.
Yeah, I do. I've got a few jokes. Tourette's is sort of the abstract art of disabilities. A lot of people are like, I could do that. Yeah. But you know, I mean, if you were to go on stage in like a big colorful hat or something and you just did your act, people would be like, oh, I thought you were going to talk about the hat and some, you know what I mean? So I do just do, up top, I'm like, I do a few Tourette's jokes, let them know that like, you know, I'm aware and I'm comfortable. And then from then on, I just do my act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the hour, it's probably 95% not Tourette's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, folks, this episode is brought to you by Alma. Isn't it wild how the things we turn to for comfort often end up making us feel worse? I mean, I've definitely caught myself doom scrolling or getting stuck in endless social media loops that leave me feeling even more disconnected from the world around me. So in a time when we're all stretched so thin between our physical and digital lives, building real, meaningful human connections has never been more important. That's why, if you're seeking some help in dark times, I really recommend looking at Alma. They make it easy to connect with an experienced therapist, a real person who can listen, understand, and support you through whatever challenges you're facing. I can tell you firsthand how much finding my therapist who understands me really helped me on my journey of mental health, and you can find your person too. With Alma, you can browse their online directory and filter by what matters most to you. Then you can book free 15-minute consultations with therapists you're interested in. And unlike other online therapy platforms that just match you with whoever's available, Alma lets you choose someone you truly connect with because the right fit makes all the difference. With their help, you can start seeing real improvements in your mental health. Better with people, better with Alma. Visit helloalma.com/factually to get started and schedule a free consultation today. That's helloalma.com/factually. You know, the leaves are turning, the temps are dropping, and the weekend air is getting that nice autumn crisp. But just because the weather's changing over, that doesn't mean you have to pack away the fun, okay? Chubbies is here to make sure your fall wardrobe hits harder than a PSL on a slow Sunday morning with soft, stretchy, fall-ready staples built for maximum comfort and minimal effort. Comfy, casual, and built for life, the Chubbies original stretch shorts can live on your legs. Available in long, short, and way short, they come with a relaxed fit, elastic waistband, and no-fuss design. These are the kind of shorts you'll forget you're wearing until you can get an onslaught of high fives and compliments. Pair those shorts with the Chubbies Performance Polo and you're good to go for a brunch, backyard party, or accidentally crashing a wedding. With a structured collar that stays sharp, four-way stretch for comfort, and breathable, moisture-wicking fabric, this polo keeps you cool and looking pulled together. It's wrinkle-resistant too, which is perfect because let's be honest, you aren't going to iron it anyway. Whether you're layering up for tailgates, lounging through lazy Sundays, or just leaning fully into fall comfort, Chubbies has you covered. And now, for a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners 20% off your order with the code FACTUALLY at chubbiesshorts.com/factually. That's code FACTUALLY at chubbiesshorts.com/factually. Support the show and show your thighs some respect with Chubbies. The way your tics like manifest when you're on stage is they sort of punctuate your jokes in a really nice way. It almost sounds like jazz drumming or something.
I'm doing catch and release. I'm doing hold and release.
Tell me more.
When I'm talking, I can kind of try to hold it for, you know what I mean? And I'm a one-liner guy. So I'm doing like, you know, I'll talk, let it go, talk, let it go, talk, let it go. I think that the tension in my mind is building in like a semi-predictable, maybe even like a sine wave type way. And so it can get this sort of rhythm. Cause I'm kind of going like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's also the structure of comedy is like tension and release, right? And like the audience laughs, and as the audience are laughing, you go, I don't want to do one of your tics in front of you. That
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
You go, huh, 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 huh. Or whatever,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Hike or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It like,
I riff on them too a little bit.
you have a couple like bits of work you do off of yourself where like you'll do a specific one and then have a line off of it.
I'm going like I go like, yeah. And I go like, oh, spit on that thing. Or whatever. You know what I mean?
You say you're your own heckler.
Yes. You know. Yeah. And it was really dependent on like what Tourette's tics I have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll do I've got the I'm my own heckler one. And sometimes I'll do that after like the wrong tick and it won't land. Like if I go like, huh, and I go, I'm my own heckler, doesn't make enough sense.
Yeah.
But if I go like, piece of shit, and I go, I'm my own heckler.
Yeah.
That makes, you know what I mean, a little bit more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Piece of shit, is that when you do that one, do you have any connection to a thought that you have about yourself?
No. You know what's funny? The New York one is my first context dependent
Really?
tick I've had. Yeah. All the other ones, like if I go shit or fuck or bitch or whatever, have been completely devoid of context. If I go piece of shit, it's like truly
That's
unrelated. Really
interesting.
Yes.
Because I have a thing where when I have a memory of something that I'm ashamed of, or like a bit of social embarrassment, right? I'll just go like, mother. I almost involuntarily, like if I'm thinking about and it can be the smallest little social thing. It's like, oh, I told the same story twice, like that kind of thing. But it's always like the same words.
Like stub your toe type thing.
Yeah.
I do literally, it's like if you stub your toe, you go like piece of shit, fuck. If you have like an embarrassing memory, you might do that. I do think that Tourette's might literally be like, without the stubbing your toe element, I'm going like, you know what I mean? I'm going, fuck.
Yeah, you're having the physical reaction to a thought without the thought being present.
Right.
Yeah.
Without the stubbing your toe sensation or whatever.
Yeah. I think that, just coming back to you doing it on stage, I think your approach is so great because it's like you go up, if the audience hasn't seen you before, you go up, you let them know the specific thing about you, which generates some interest because for most people, they're like, oh, I haven't seen a comic with Tourette's before. I'm interested. You have a couple jokes off of it. But then you move off of it, you do the rest of your material, they're getting to know you. But then when you have a tick and do a joke off of it in the middle of the set, the feeling that I think the crowd gets is like, oh man, this guy's so comfortable with who he is. Like we're seeing this sort of vulnerable part of you, this thing that you have limited control over. And you're working with it comedically in a way that's clearly so comfortable to you. And it makes the audience go, oh, I could feel worried about this. I could feel worried for him or sympathetic or something like that. Oh, but instead he feels comfortable. I feel comfortable. I've learned something about a person. Yeah. It like really contributes nicely to getting like a full comedic meal from your act.
I appreciate that. I'm straight up not vulnerable about it. Like I just like, and I think that's part of the thing of like when people are like, oh, you're brave or whatever. And I think people are assuming that there's some vulnerability, but I truly don't care. And that's what I mean that's what I'm trying to say when I don't care about it. And I do care in the sense of I would like to help normalize it, especially if there's kids with Tourette's out there. I'd love for their peers to be able to see me being normal and chill and for them to see that and be like, oh, it's fine. But for myself, I'm not even remotely embarrassed by it. Because I know I have no control over it. I know it's a physical disability thing. And so I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Wonderful to see because
I appreciate that a lot.
Like social fear is one of the greatest fears that people have. People are afraid of death and they're afraid of like physical violence and lack of safety. But like beyond that, most people's fear are social or of humiliation.
Dude, my deepest fear is like alligator infested murky waters. And I'm so serious. That scares the shit out of me. Like accidentally swimming in alligator waters. Oh my God. You know what I mean? But that's not happening on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not really happening anywhere. Like accidentally swimming in alligator water.
Dude, it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
People do that shit.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? They don't know. They go south.
Has there been a situation in which you've like seen some water and you've been like, I almost got in the water?
When I was younger, yeah. Like I think there was a formative memory of going to Florida when I was a kid and like thinking about going in the water. Yeah, and there was like literally a sign that was like, don't go in, there's alligators. So I think there is, honestly, I truly think there might be like a formative memory there.
Yeah, so you're not going to a lot of lakes.
I mean, I love a lake, but not at not an alligator area.
Well, I think that like to most people, the idea
the rest of the rest of the podcast is about the fear of alligators.
You're like, get off of Tourette's.
Yeah.
No, we'll move off of it. But I think that like the idea of doing something in a social context that is involuntary to most people is frightening. You know, it like makes people feel vulnerable to imagine themselves being in that position.
Right. Yeah. They're projecting onto me the fact that they can't fucking handle the heat.
Well, to see you not, be vulnerable about it, to see you be fearless about it is like
I appreciate
a wonderful thing for people to see, I think.
I appreciate that. And I think, well, I'll bring it back though, because I'm sure you've been told that you're brave as well, simply for being on stage. People
right. Yes.
Like that social fear doesn't just apply, like whatever the fear of performing and being on stage and doing stand-up in front of a crowd and not knowing if it's going to go well or whatever, that having to deal with that same emotion is probably very, very similar to the social embarrassment that I'm feeling with like Tourette's or whatever.
Yeah.
And so having done a lot of effort to quell that one, maybe earlier on I was more socially embarrassed with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's gone pretty heavily. And I like, so you can relate, right? The people tell you you're brave for doing stand-up, and at this point you're like, no.
Yeah, no, I just do it and like it feels bad or it feels good, and then you do it the next night and it'll feel bad or good again, and it's not going to kill you either way. But yeah, to someone who hasn't done it before, it's like the thought is very alarming. My favorite thing to say to people, because they're like, oh, I could never do stand-up, and I always say to them, you should try.
Yeah, it's like you'll
go to
find
an open mic, give it a shot. You do it twice or 3 times, and you'll learn more about it than you could ever imagine. And you'll have done it, and you'll see what it's like. I think it's like, and people go, I could never.
It's like,
never.
I think it's like driving on the highway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? First time you drive on the highway, you're like, oh my God. Yeah. And then like, maybe like.
It took me years to get over that.
Yeah, right. And then, but then at a certain point, you're zoning out. You know what I mean? Now you're going like 70 and you're like, holy shit, I've been driving.
Yeah. But that's wrong.
Yeah.
You shouldn't zone out.
That's valid. By the way, people always ask about driving with the Tourette's. But I don't really know. I don't really drive that much anymore. I've been driven since prior to it getting severe. I haven't really driven.
Wow, really?
Well, I drove in high school a little bit. I borrowed my parents' car, but since then I've lived in Philadelphia and then I lived in New York, and they both had.
Do you feel like it would interfere with driving?
Potentially. I could see. I don't know.
I can imagine if you had anything with your leg, for instance, that might be.
Yeah. I have done it. I did it one time because I drove to a gig. No, sorry. My friend drove us to a gig. Then he drank 4 beers, and I was like, all right, well, I'm driving us back, dude. Yeah. So I did drive us back then, and I was able to kind of lock in, but I remember multiple times kind of like, it's like, when you sneeze or when you're driving, it's like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But a lot more often.
Yeah. And you kind of have to go, all right.
Yeah. I don't like sneezing while driving for that reason. You're like, trying to stay stable while your body is going through an involuntary convulsion.
Yes. Yeah. But because I can redirect it, I'm like holding my legs still.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm like, I'll take my hand off. I don't know. But that's what I would probably do. I don't know that. Yeah. I don't do it that often to know.
Okay. So I want to talk about comedy. Once you and I were on a show in Brooklyn, we both did sets. Afterwards, a woman who worked for NPR came up to us You remember this?
Yeah, of course.
And she said,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm recording a show. I believe it was for the show Science Versus.
Yeah,
and it was about jokes. And she was like, can I interview you guys about how jokes work?
Yep.
And
I told her.
And we sat there and we told her. And I told her my little theory about, what makes something funny, which is that it's a combination of truth and surprise, or something expected and something unexpected. Like, oh, of course that would happen, but I didn't expect it to happen. Or, oh, that's so true, but I never thought of that before. Like that to me, it doesn't apply in all cases, but I think it's like good enough to tell a reporter lady.
Yeah.
And you said to her, I'm not going to answer your question because I know the structure of comedy. And if I tell you, you're going to steal it or something like that.
Not quite.
You had such a firm theory that you did not want to share.
No, I actually told her.
You did tell her.
I just outright told her. Okay. A little bit of a reveal. I haven't really been public about this, but people know I teach like a joke writing class. It's kind of like, but it's really a comedy theory class. And okay, the thing is that whenever anybody talks about comedy theory, it's annoying, and they kind of are like wearing this hat of like, I think of everything in terms of wearing a hat, by the way. But it's like a little bit like, it's it can be very pretentious. It can be very wishy-washy, very pseudoscience type stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But okay, a little bit of a reveal, a little bit of a top secret reveal that I'm going to do for you now.
Great.
I've spent like the entire time I've been working on comedy, I spent like a decade working on like comedy theory. And I've got like a very in-depth like visual modeling system for like metaphors and for like hyperbole and stuff based on like subjective concept, structure, diagram type stuff.
Yeah.
And it lets me write poop jokes. But that's a relevant element of it. Like there's the two sides. There's structure, which is like, is it a hyperbole? Is it a metaphor? And then there's the aesthetic side, which is going to be things like, what's it about? What are the flavors of the idea? Poop has a flavor. No good. But ladybugs, butterflies, sex, drugs, rock and roll, all have different subjective aesthetic flavors that you can tap into for jokes and whatnot. And then the subtext as well, which is like, and that's, by the way, the subtext is part of why I find it hard. It's ironic because I have a hard time talking about this because the subtext of a lot of jokes is like, you want to be low status. You want to be like, I think it's better to be stupid and kind of play the fool. But inherently talking about comedy theory is sort of this like smart kind of looking thing to do. So it can be kind of annoying. So I know that there's a little bit of that issue with it. But and the context as well, like who, what, where, when, why.
I find it fascinating that you think about comedy that way because look, I believe comedy has structure. You can break down the structure if you want. I have my own little theories, like I said, that if someone asks me, I have an answer. I've taught comedy writing before at UCB. Certainly, I believe that comedy is something you can teach. But my experience is that most people who are doing comedy professionally, like, don't really think about that much day to day. Like at UCB, me or other comedy writers could like teach you, okay, here's a handout of, here's how sketch comedy works. But like when I'm writing myself, I'm not like, okay, what's the game of the scene or like, what's the, et cetera. I'm just kind of doing it by feel and the structure I just sort of internalized and it supports it.
Tell me a joke. I'll try to tell you the structure. I'm serious.
Well, let me finish.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I think that I think it's interesting that as you have become a professional comedian, you have built more structure for yourself, and you seem to be actively using it in your work, your specific analysis, which I think is pretty rare among practicing comics.
I appreciate that. I gotta say, I didn't mean to do this reveal until I don't mind. But well, the plan was to put out.
You think it's gonna make news? You think it's gonna hit the papers?
No, not. Well, I wanted to put out the special first, and then because I do believe that the proof is in doing it.
Yeah,
and people are like, "Oh, I've got a comedy theory," and then they're like, "Dog shit at comedy," and so it's like, well, you obviously like. I think like if I were to put out an hour of jokes, and people like it enough, then I can go. The plan is to go. And here's how I did that. Here's my mechanism.
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of have it be a mystifying thing. I want to be like, here's the here's my recipes. Here's
I don't
literally
think
how
you're
I wrote everything.
revealing it right now. I think you're
Yeah.
teasing it
I am teasing it.
because you're still
I
going to
can't
do
possibly. Yeah. That is still
because
the plan.
you could not possibly explain all of it. I mean, we could have
No.
you back after you reveal it, and you go walk us through your whole structure.
It takes about 5 hours. I know from doing the class.
It takes 5 hours to explain your comedy.
Most of it. Maybe I bet maybe 7 if I went into a little more detail.
And so, do you use this actively when you write? Do you go
Yeah, for
through
sure.
and you're using your flow charts and your diagrams?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not really flow charts, but yeah, totally.
That's and that has helped you write more.
Tell me a joke.
Tell you a joke. Okay. This is my joke I always tell when people ask me to tell them a joke.
Totally.
And it's not from my act or anything. But I do like this joke. Oh fuck, I always forget it though. You remember the name of the actress? She just she just stabbed herself. It was like in the new her name's Reese with
Right, okay.
Reese.
Can I pause you and go, I
yes.
know what you're gonna say?
Yeah, because
of course,
you've
it's
heard
very
the joke
obvious, right?
before.
Well, maybe I've heard it before, but also
Okay, what am I gonna say?
I go with her spoon and then you go with her knife.
Yeah, exactly. With her knife.
Yeah.
I like that joke because it's so stupid. Somebody did that joke to me 15 years ago, and it's fun to do.
Right.
It's fun to get the other person to say Witherspoon. That's
Of course.
the fun part.
Of course. Yeah, totally.
You didn't let me make you do it.
No, I'm sorry. I did fuck it up.
No,
I was wearing the.
You're being clever.
I was trying to wear the hat of knowing.
Well,
the
no, I
structure.
mean your comedy theory is so comprehensive that you
No,
that you were able to see it
watching,
coming. You were like
everybody watching could see that coming.
you saw.
No. Yeah.
Look, I don't think it's a brilliant joke. That's just the one that I do. So, well, yeah. Tell me, do you have analysis of this joke?
Nope. No. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I mean, okay. So, wow. Yeah, it would take a minute to explain. But basically, it's just like, I mean, that is just like a classic misdirect.
Mhm.
And like a misdirect. Okay. Damn. Okay. There was a lot more context that I have to explain. Okay. Well, first, let's start with context. First of all, this requires you to be like now in the last like somewhat amount of time in America in order to get the reference of who Reese Witherspoon is. Right.
Yes.
Who, by the way, I don't entirely know who that is. I just know the name.
Wow. All right.
I'm not really a movie guy. I don't know if she's
Okay.
a TV or movie person.
She's everything, man. I mean, she's a mogul.
Sorry, Reese, but I know the name. It's like, like that joke wouldn't work 50 years ago or in China or something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so first is this sort of like local American context, or at least Anglosphere. And then, the English speaking. And then we've got, Reese Witherspoon. You're setting it up as if you don't know. You're kind of doing a dramatic irony thing. You try to play it for real. Just like we go Witherspoon, and then the swap you're doing is a little bit of linguistic, but also in the category of okay. So a swap is a type of thing that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to pause.
Yeah.
And go a little further out. And
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. The thing with structure,
Mm-hmm.
the way it goes is that we've got ideas. We've got all sorts of concepts in our mind.
Yes.
We've got things like spoons. We've got things like dogs or whatever. But those are all related to each other in different hierarchies of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So spoons, forks, knives are all in the category of utensil. But they could also be considered in like the subcategory of like Western. And then chopsticks are also in the category of utensil. In that same way, you can imagine a sort of hierarchy tree of meaning.
Yes.
At the bottom of that is going to be like our senses, and everything is built up from sense information. And so what you're doing there is so what we can do to information is we can change it. So we can add things together. We can remove things. We can swap things around. Or we can like rearrange it. We can create pattern structures. We can compare things. That doesn't necessarily change them. If I say A is like B, but it's a way of comparing things. And then what we're trying to do is we create different resolutions with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to create incongruity or pseudo equivalence, or like misdirects are a certain type of incongruity in a way that has like a surprise element. And so with this one, we've got Reese, the name Witherspoon. You're dividing the word Witherspoon linguistically into spoon and wither.
Mm-hmm.
And also this idea of with her spoon.
Mm-hmm.
and spoon, you're swapping in the category of utensil to knife, and that becomes how she stabbed the. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes. I'm there's creating a link between. I don't want to say I didn't write this joke.
Right.
But we're changing the just sort of like homophonic whatever the sound of the word into its component meaning, which is a fun little transformation.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm also forcing the other person to participate in the joke.
That's true.
Is part of what is funny to me about it.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing that's funny to me about, because I do like the joke, but the reason I like it is because it's so fucking stupid. It's really dumb.
Yeah.
And it sort of lets people down when it happens. And it's so there's a bit of like meta comedy for me in it.
Totally.
In that
by the way, if we're playing with patterns and stuff, like if I go like A, B, C, Q, that's a pattern misdirect. Meta comedy is pattern misdirects with common patterns of jokes and expectations of jokes. So anti-jokes, if you tell a joke and it doesn't have a punchline, that is itself the misdirect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which, by the way, whenever we get to this point, I have to point this out. That what you're talking about is why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And what I find fascinating about that joke is that's the first joke that almost every child learns. At least that was the first joke I ever learned. I remember saying that to other people. And yet that joke is premised on there being a whole category of joke that no longer exists. Where like, I'm a child, I'm saying, why the chicken crossed the road to get to the other side. I have never heard a joke that is in the pattern that I'm breaking, right? Why did the chicken cross the road? And then there's an actual punchline. It's anti-comedy, and it's the first joke you ever learn. I find that really fascinating.
I don't think it's possible for that to be the first. Like, you would have to have heard other jokes in order to get that.
No, I think that...
I think that's really?
As a kid, that was the first joke I ever learned. But I think that when you're that young, you don't understand why jokes are funny. You're just sort of more repeating things that you hear.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
But it's like this very... I think if you were doing it Family Feud style and you asked like 1 million Americans to name one joke as quickly as possible, they would give that line.
Oh, sure.
And I think that's fascinating because it is itself an anti-joke.
Yeah. And I want to come back to the Reese Witherspoon thing real quick and just go like, you can see that that joke had a lot of layers to it. Like I was trying to hit on like the different parts of it, but like there's a lot of parts to that joke. And it's like, it's a whole fucking thing. And it, you know what I mean? And I honestly think that's why people haven't really dug into it yet. It's because like, there's that famous thing of like, people in a dark room feeling an elephant and they're like, oh, jokes are sharp and pointy. Oh, jokes are a long trunk or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a number of different theories about jokes, all of which I've read a couple of different like philosophical books about jokes by, philosophers of language and stuff. And they'll have a theory and you'll go, oh yeah, that applies to some jokes. And then someone also have a completely different theory that has, there's like the benign violation theory, which is a theory entirely about like that jokes are social violations of social rules in a benign context.
Yeah.
And like, that's true of some jokes, but not most or certainly not all.
That's the one I'm thinking of when I talk about people who had a theory, but then like didn't actually do comedy or like were bad at it. They like said they tried to do it like they themselves are like, we then tried to write jokes about this and then it wasn't working. And I'm like, well, it's like, that's an extremely specific subset of like aesthetics of like, you know what I mean?
It's philosophers who are studying aesthetics and trying to understand humor. And there are these philosophers that did that and then tried to go do stand-up and couldn't make people laugh despite having a theory of humor that they were trying to prove out.
Yeah. So I'm more than happy to say like, listen, I'm not fucking done with it yet, but I'm still cooking it. I mean, I've been working on it for like literally a decade.
Yeah.
But as I've learned more with that, and incorporated as much as I can, I've gotten hopefully better at the act or whatever as well. You know what I mean? And like I can,
Yeah, man, I think that's what I find interesting about this is that most people who have theories of comedy are not funny or are often not even trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And most people who are funny don't have a theory of comedy. Like most comedians, they'll just will say shit like, oh, funny is funny, jokes are jokes, whatever. Either you're funny or you're not. Like stuff that is like anti even the idea of trying to understand comedy.
Right.
They just sort of do it. And you're like perhaps the only comic or working comedy writer I know who like systematizes it that way, apart from maybe like improv teachers and that sort of person.
I bet you there's people who are also doing it but are guarding it more closely. Or you know what I mean? But I also think like it's like music theory, and I think I do think there's probably people who get really into the music theory weeds and then are like doing like weird experimental stuff that only they and their like students like or something.
Of course.
But then there's people who don't know a damn thing about it and then make like the most popular pop song of all time or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be in the middle. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I like to be like Primus or whatever, where it's like the music is good and also I respect what they're doing.
Yeah, but music has like specific, at least Western music has specific like math about it, right? You can go through and okay, the scales are like the notes are this far apart and like, it has like all this specific structure in it. And like comedy doesn't fundamentally have that.
I think it could.
You think it could?
That's my yeah, I don't know. But the more I talk about this, I feel a little bit like
we'll move off of it.
Well, no, I guess I like it really does feel like nobody agrees with me at all or wants to hear my thoughts on this until I think they already like my comedy.
This is why we put some of your jokes at the top of the podcast.
So okay, I appreciate that, but I am truly like oh man, I don't know. It's like yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's gonna be act 2 of my career.
How do you feel about I feel like something that people say about one-liner comics like you is they always do the Mitch Hedberg comparison. They always say, Mitch Hedberg. And I'm just curious what you think about that.
I love Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. However, I get that comment truly every day of my life.
Yeah.
To the point that it is just a wash. You know what I mean? It's like the Tourette's, right? It's another hat I'm wearing. You know what I mean?
Another hat in your hat-based economy.
I really do love him, but my relationship to him has become very numbing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's become such a he was like literally, I think, one of the first stand-up comics I ever fell in love with. Like Strategic Grill locations, like hit my college
it was Dane
campus.
Cook. Sorry. I'm actually serious about that, but yeah.
No, I mean, Dane Cook really hit for a lot of people at that time.
See his new special in his house?
No, I
He's got drone footage of like his house and like it's like people in his beanbag chairs, like in his like pool area.
He shot it at his own house, like with an audience in his own backyard.
Yeah.
Wow, that's. You know what? I'm not going to judge that until I see it. I'm kind of curious.
Just watch it on mute. Sorry. Sorry.
Well, like there's a certain there's a certain sort of like whimsy that Mitch had, a certain kind of free associational thinking that was like really its own sort of strain in comedy that for a lot of people just became like how they describe a huge amount of comedy. You just don't relate to it at all.
I don't relate to the what? The women?
To the description. Like I don't know.
To Mitch Hedberg?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I really do relate to it. I really appreciate it a lot. I love him. I'm certainly doing one-liners. I'm certainly doing whimsical. Like I know I'm in that tradition. I know I'm.
Yeah.
But I guess similar to the comedy stuff, it's annoying of me to go, yeah, I'm the new Mitch Hedberg guy.
Right.
But I am sort of getting it constantly ascribed to me in this way that it's hard, that my relationship to is people call me Twitch Hedberg or stuff. You know what I mean?
That's insulting to everybody.
I don't mind that actually. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no. I love him. I am trying to do a little bit of I got to do my own lane, of course.
Yeah.
And so it's, of course, like Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright and Mitch Hedberg were both doing kind of on stage being like more spacey or more or like a more unique or cockeyed delivery or something.
Yeah.
And I think that if I was doing that, it would seem like I was trying to straight up like copy them.
Yeah.
So I try to just be straightforward and kind of just be what's up. You know what I be myself and just do my own jokes, because the jokes themselves are what's the new different content.
Yeah.
That's how I try to differentiate,
Yeah. I mean, one thing I do think is similar between you and him is a couple years ago, I was trying to like re-inspire myself about stand-up, and I went back and listened to Strategic Grill Locations. And it's actually a really interesting album because it's like one take in a sort of noisy kind of nightclub environment. And he's like so present in the room. There's a bass player who he's talking to.
Oh yeah, let me be clear. I love them to death.
I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of one-liner comics tend to get really detached from their environment because they're just like delivering the joke, right?
Right.
And he's super, super present in the room. He's like reacting to things that are happening, and you really feel like you're there with him. And I get the same sense when I'm watching you, that you have your jokes, but you're also like responding to your tics, you're responding to the audience.
I learned that from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I literally, it's actually funny. I was doing one-liners before I really got into Mitch Hedberg, which I don't know how the fuck that happened. But like, just like early on, I actually do know how it happened. I saw a joke from Sarah Silverman that was kind of like a one-liner, and I was like, oh, I like just like one-line jokes. And I started doing that. And then people were like, oh, you should check out Mitch Hedberg. And I fell in love with his stuff, but I didn't know what to do when a joke bombed. And I just was like being weird about it on stage. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, because it's doing one-liners in a joke bombs. It's like, yeah, you swung and you missed and everybody saw it.
Yeah.
And getting to hear Mitch Hedberg.
Nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, nothing to fall back on. And hearing how Mitch Hedberg would just, seeing like YouTube videos or something where it was like a different show, maybe not one of the main albums or something, and he doesn't get like as big of a laugh on a joke, and how he would just keep cooking, or would maybe, he'd be like, that one, we're going to add laughs in on the album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you just own it and keep going. And so, yeah, like I've certainly learned a lot from these guys. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You, another thing I admire about you as a guy in your spot in the industry.
Thanks, man. This is a very flattering podcast. I appreciate this a lot. Yeah.
I wouldn't have you on if I didn't think you were great. And if I didn't think you were interesting.
And I love what you're doing as well. You're an important voice in these times, and there's a lot of evil folks in comedy, and this is what the alliance that we're forging.
We're forging an alliance of non-evil comics.
Of centrists.
Don't call me a centrist. What's on the other side? If there's like the edgelord fuckos, and then we're centrists according to you, who's on the other side?
A great question.
Oh, just the really cuddly comics, the really sweetie pies.
Yeah.
No, you post a lot of stuff that's like pretty confrontational about like, what other comics are doing, like shit that is, reinforcing shitty stereotypes, or is, retrograde in various ways. Right. And a lot of comics, especially comics like in New York, don't do that because they don't want to start shit and they don't want people to be pissed at them.
Well, New York's got the club scene and also the alt scene. If you do both, if you talk shit about like the Kill Tony type folks or whatever, or I don't know, that whole sphere, you will also possibly bump into people adjacent to that world and crowd. And so it becomes drama in that way. But I really don't do the clubs as much. But also, I got to that perspective from really, not to bring it back up, but the joke theory stuff is, studying irony. It's really looking at irony and be like, all right, how does this work? And then I see these guys doing regressive material and going like, oh, it's just a joke, dude. And I'm like, whoa, brother, what you said was racist. You know what I mean? And then and they're trying to hide behind this, like, it's just a joke defense.
Yeah.
And I've and just being a little weirdo in my room and trying to scribble down how irony works for years. And I'm like, no. Yeah. When you do a racist joke, it can be anti-racist if you're doing an ironic thing from the correct perspective, making fun of, like, if you're doing an ironic caricature of a racist, it can be anti-racist. If you're not doing an ironic caricature of a racist, then you're being racist. You know what I mean? But also you can use irony to be racist as well. You could be a racist guy doing an ironic caricature of like a dumb black guy or something. Mm-hmm. And like, that was the root of like minstrel shows. You know what I mean? And so it's like, comedy is not inherently a tool for good, just because it makes people laugh. It's an idea puzzle framework, and you can use it to reinforce or to say whatever sort of ideas you want to say.
Yeah.
And so these guys use it to say shit like, we should deport all illegals, or I mean, not to use their framing or the
that
wording.
Trans people are deceiving others, or that, that's like an underlying framework of a lot of, anti-trans jokes.
No, sorry. but exactly. And that's an ironic thing, right? I, by saying that in that moment just now, was playing the ironic character of one of those guys who believes that stuff is true.
Yeah.
And, comedy is playing with a lot of like logic and stuff of like, the incongruity, what's true, what's false.
Yeah.
And because culture is subjective these days, and people believe different things. I mean, people always believe different things. Their reality and their understanding of what is true. And the people talk about how comedy is rooted in truth. It's like, it absolutely is. It's rooted in like true and false. And what the ideas that they are reinforcing as true are different stereotypes or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're like, and then we on the left go, well, that's actually, we don't agree with that. That's not our foundation of truth. For idea structures. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you see people do jokes sometimes where like the entire let's do a famous example. Tony Hinchcliffe at that big Madison Square Garden rally for Trump, right? Where he did the joke about Puerto Rico. And he also did a joke where he pointed at a black guy and he said something like, I was at that guy's house eating watermelon, right? And that was like a joke. And I was like, well, first of all, you didn't write that joke because that's like,
that's just
100 years. It's
just a stereotype.
Just 100 years old, right? Yeah. It's like, where's the joke? But second of all, what is it? Just based on this belief that the public has that black people, in fact, do enjoy eating watermelon, which is a racist stereotype. There's no irony. What is all it does is reinforce the truth value of the original stereotype.
Right. And we can do different checks to find out if somebody's doing irony. Does the idea contradict itself? Does it contradict your reputation? Does it contradict like the context? I'll give a quick example if you're interested.
Yeah.
So I've got a joke where I go, I'm at the aquarium petting zone, just grabbing. and like that idea, in order to know about that, you have to be aware that you're not supposed to grab at the aquarium. So there's inherently a logical transgression. If you think I mean that for real, you have to think that I deliberately want to harm the animals. So that joke just has a clear, obvious logical error to itself. Reputation is something like, if two people say, I love flying in my private jet, if one of them's a tech billionaire, that's not ironic, doesn't contradict the reputation. If one of them is Greta Thunberg, that contradicts her reputation, and we would know she was kidding from like a class.
Yeah, and your aquarium joke works that way too, because you're doing such other sweet jokes about animals.
Right.
People are like, this guy, I can tell this guy doesn't want to hurt animals.
That's true, but I also think that you don't necessarily, that reputational check, like the average person doesn't want to hurt animals, so you wouldn't have to do too deep of a reputation check there.
And
I hope.
You know what this really illuminates for me, is something I think about a lot, was there were a lot of alt comics in the mid 2000s who were doing ironic racist jokes, right? Like Sarah Silverman famously did tons of those jokes. And like, had a whole debate with like the Asian Anti-Defamation League and stuff like that. And in retrospect, when I go back and look at those jokes, I'm like, oof, those don't read to me as ironic at all. And the reason is back then in like 2006, the sort of assumption was on the part of white comedians, well, none of us are racist because we all know racism is bad.
Right.
Therefore, if I do racist jokes, it's clear that it's ironic, right? 20 years later, I have a more nuanced view of racism and how it works in America. And like, those jokes were sort of premised on the idea that we had reached some kind of post-racial moment in America where like racism isn't really real. So we can just do it ironically because it's kind of like from the past. Like it's like a dated thing. And I don't feel that way about racism in America anymore. So especially not said by white people. Therefore those jokes don't read to me that way.
I wouldn't fault those comedians for that necessarily, because their intentions were good. I know she got flack for actually saying the slur for one of them. And I think that is a little bit of a different thing where even if you have good intentions, there's certain things that the doing it itself is the flaw, like saying certain slurs. or like, yeah, I can't ironically do blackface to make fun of people who do blackface.
Yeah.
That simply is itself the flaw.
Yeah.
But a trans person could certainly make an ironically could certainly do a transphobic joke, and it would be very clear that they were being ironic from a reputational perspective.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally.
Yeah.
But also
But
the
yeah.
reason those comics were able to do that in the mid
Context
2000s
matters. Yeah. Well, that's the
was
context.
because
Yeah.
the voices of the people who are going, hey, this joke actually doesn't fucking make sense. It's not ironic to me. It just sounds like a racist joke. Those people didn't have voices in the media at the time. They weren't able to get that message out, right?
Right.
And so like the sort of like white media establishment was like, oh yeah, that's a funny, ironically racist joke. Whereas the people who are going, no, that actually to me is racist. So the context like changed around us,
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
or the context of what we understand culturally as a whole. But it's like the reputational irony is very different now,
Right.
how I view that sort of comic when they're speaking.
Yeah, and that comes back to those guys where it's like they'll make a transphobic joke or a xenophobic joke and then have Trump or JD Vance on their podcast or something who are enacting the actual political project of transphobic laws or deporting people or whatever. And so your reputation now becomes aligned with the actual far right conservatism of those ideas. So we know it doesn't contradict that context. We know it doesn't contradict your reputation.
I mean, those jokes are not even, look, if you want to go back to Sarah Silverman or those sort of jokes and say, oh, those, ironic racism, it was an attempt to be anti-racist that, maybe by today's standards failed or whatever. But when you talk about comics who are doing anti-trans jokes today, they're just anti-trans jokes. They're just premised on trans people are bad or evil or liars or fake or that sort of thing. There isn't
blood of demons.
Yeah, there isn't the thing of, oh, I know I'm not supposed to say this. That's what makes it funny. They're like, no, I am supposed to say it. It's what I believe. Like that's been a real shift in comedy over the past couple of years.
And I think those guys are interesting because I actually find them to be weirdly progressive about disability. And I'm actually so serious about that.
Interesting.
I've been trying to, I'm in my new era of love and light. And I believe that actions and ideas can be harmful or evil or whatever. But I've been trying to view individuals as having just incorrect ideas or incorrect framing or whatnot. And so I think a lot of those guys were originally at least coming from the perspective of, trying to be free speech guys or whatever. And then you can see that they mean well in the space of like Gaza, they're like, they'll be like free Palestine. They're like accurately calling that out. Or they'll be like really pro disability or something. But then when it comes to like gender and stuff like that, they're like so bad. But a lot of that is like this ego thing of like, you can tell that they were like, I don't know. You can tell that they have been scorned or something I don't know. Like it feels like there's like some sort of Freudian psychological thing going on with some of those guys where they just don't want to be called gay or whatever. So they have to like perform this machismo. Like it's a very like boys club, but they'll let certain token people in if they are willing to bash in the same way. I don't know.
Yeah. A certain, what is it, like queerness, like threatens their own sense of self in some way. Like
that makes sense. I'm armchair psychoanalyzing the entire Austin scene. But I'm trying to do that out of an empathetic angle where I'm trying to be like, I don't want to think of Tony Hinchcliffe as like evil because I think that makes him fundamentally like, that makes it not a solvable situation. It makes, you know what I mean? But I had been thinking that way. And I'm trying to be like, okay, well, how do we more empathetically go like, hey guys, knock it off, please. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't say that to those guys. You're not in community with them. Why would they listen to you? Like,
right. Should I be in community with them?
I mean,
I should go and kill Tony.
There are people who are, there's a couple of degrees separation from us who are, but like, so I guess those people,
but am I wrong?
What's their responsibility to do,
Do you think, what are your thoughts on evil? Do you know what I mean? It's hard to like, we're at a crossroads of like, are these people doing evil or
Okay, I'll give you my overall view of human morality. Since you gave me your overall view, or a tease
I'm
of your overall view of comedy. I believe that every good thing and every bad thing that has ever happened on Earth has been because of people, and that humanity has within it the capacity for, if you want to call it good or evil or pro-social or antisocial or productive or destructive, or, we have all those things within us as a species in equal measure, or maybe hopefully 51% on the good side, but they're there. Right. And, we I think often allow ourselves this fantasy, especially in America, of like that perspective from the mid 2000s of, oh, racism is over. Like, oh, it doesn't exist anymore. Oh, that's from the past. That's like old timey stuff.
Right.
That's like an old guy in a one-piece swimsuit lifting a barbell. That's like a silly thing from the past, Like, no, it's still around. It's still, racism lurks within the human heart. Hatred lurks within the human heart. Like, it's part of humanity and it's part of all of us to some degree. And our job as a species is to, if we just let people like wander the earth and like do what they do, they're going to hurt each other, because that lurks within all of us. But if we build systems that sort of push people away from hurting and towards helping, right, then we increase the amount of good in the world, right? And so those systems might be, culture, like building a culture that is more productive and pro-social and like empathetic. It might be putting laws in place that prevent people from acting in bad ways, or, so how would one do so in the entertainment industry?
Yeah.
I don't know. But so when it comes to those individual people,
yes,
that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to look at some people and go like, that person's got hate in his heart, and it's not like, is it his fault? I don't know if fault comes into it, but like, yeah, those people exist in the world, and you do need to be able to label them as such, Yes. And so sometimes I see comics on stage and I'm like, yeah, this joke is about, you hate those people. You hate the people that this joke is rooted in hate. And like, I can tell that from looking at you, from the way that you speak, from the things that you choose to say, to a certain extent, when you go on stage, you're exposed to the audience. You can write all the jokes you want. You can rehearse your act. But the audience can see you and see the way that you carry yourself and like what you choose to speak about, and it's just like you can tell.
Totally. Yes. And then it comes back to this thing of
you want to come back to evil.
Well, but I mean, I guess, but I see what you're saying, and it's important to label them in this way. Let's say these guys are doing harm, right?
Yeah.
They are promoting Trump and Vance. And they're promoting these negative ideas that lead to material harm for people through either personal violence done by individuals who agree with them, or systemic like changes of laws, etc.
Yeah.
And it's important to change them doing that, right? We don't want those guys to continue to say what they're doing. But what we've tried has been canceling them, right? And what we tried has been going like, stop. Knock it off. Don't say that. You're being racist.
Yeah.
And that hasn't worked. They have just gotten more popular. You see what I'm saying? And if anything, it's we're kind of throwing fuel on the fire. And so now that's why I'm trying to be like, okay, that seems to have been the wrong approach. And it comes like, if we look at something like RFK, for example, it's hard, like, doesn't necessarily have hate in his heart, but he thinks that vaccines cause autism. Also, by the way, your video is now going to have the Wikipedia thing.
Thank you for making that happen for me. I've been trying to get that for years.
You're welcome. And the question is like, well, how do you change somebody's mind? It's like, you can't just call, like, if we just say to RFK, you're a moron, you're wrong, you're an idiot, this is incorrect. That doesn't work. That doesn't fire him from the CDC board. So because now we're in this position of like, how do we get these Austin comics to truly realize that their words have implications and material damage? In the same way that, like, how do you convince somebody like RFK that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't know that we get them to do anything. I think one problem we have in comedy is that we unfortunately, I think sometimes see it as almost too big of a tent. Like, I think some of those, we might be better off if some of those people, we were like, they're in a different line of work. You know what I mean? Like, we're not literally doing the same job.
Oh, interesting.
You know, we're appealing to different audiences. We're trying to do different things. You know, I think there's when comedy was smaller, it was sort of like, hey, we're all in this together, you know, and there's like a little bit of bonds of camaraderie. But like, I think maybe we can let that go about some of these, you know, there are literally comics who are making their careers on, you know, racism, transphobia. Like they are appealing to racist audiences. You know, that's what they're doing. And I don't think it's within my power, or is it my responsibility to like control what they do one way or another. Right. You know, I think I can label it as such and not allow it to pass by unremarked upon or, you know, look the other way or whatever. I can go like, yeah, that's fucking racist, you know? But I don't think I should try to convince them one way or another. I do think it's my responsibility to try to create a more equitable society that I would like to see, using my comedy to do so, you know, but I'm not trying to control what other people do. So.
Well, I don't want to control them.
Yeah.
But I would like to persuade them.
Yeah.
I would like to have a nice solid cube of rhetoric that they can go, ooh, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, back in the day, different civil rights people have been like, we need to convince the general public that XYZ opinion structure is bad. You know what I mean? People used to be like against interracial marriage. And like people literally had to be like, no, here's why.
There are people who are still against interracial
Yeah, that's
marriage.
crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah, some of them are probably doing jokes about it,
true,
you know?
True.
Like,
yeah.
You know.
Maybe it's, okay, maybe this is a bit of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You labeling them as such can be seen by your audience. And so it's like, if we have the general public and they are listening to messages both from you and from Kiltony, and they're seeing the general media landscape. It's like injecting certain rhetoric or injecting like certain ideas into that space can help people go, oh, that guy over there is being racist. Like, I guess that is that labeling and demonstrating why.
I mean, yeah, you can argue whether or not, like, for the general public who's like, what kind of comedy should I listen to? You know, like this show or that show. And if I'm out there going, that show's racist, they might go, that guy who's calling him racist is being a little rude. maybe they're the people over there are having more fun. That's a fair argument when you're talking about like getting to, you know, then you're focusing on the audience.
I meant it more of like the not that calling them racist is a bad thing. I meant like, no, it's good. We want to call them racist so that the audience sees that they're racist. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm like, the whole thing with people are like, oh, it's just a joke. And I think a lot of people believed that. And that's why I've been trying to really hammer home that whole point of like irony and be like, no, here's how this works, so that people can talk to their coworker or their dad or their brother or their partner or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like they'll watch my video, they'll hopefully get the ideas better, understand.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people know that those guys are being shitty, but they can't exactly articulate why or put their finger on it.
Yeah.
But I think you and I can.
Yes.
And I think we saying why helps them say why. And it does have impact in the culture.
And I agree with you about like canceling is meaningless as a term now, you know, but what I agree with you about is there was this effort for a little while to try to like expel people from comedy, period. Right. To go like, oh, well, and it came out of this time when people used to say there was no such thing as conservative comedy. This was like in the end of the Obama era. People were like, oh, conservative comedy doesn't even exist. Literally, I heard people say this on podcasts and stuff. And no one would say that today, right? But when that sort of comedy started appearing, the two things that happened were the comics would be like, it's just a joke. It's not really conservative. It's not really racist. It's not really right wing. It's not really whatever it is. And then the people who were opposed to it would go, but that shouldn't be allowed. Right. Like we said that it doesn't exist. Why are they allowed to do it? You know? And I think both perspectives are wrong. You should go, no, it is racist or it is right wing, two different things. And also, of course they can do it because there's racists and there's right-wingers who want to laugh. And like,
Right.
these people are going to go to them, right? There's going to be podcasts for them. People are going to buy tickets to the comedy club.
Yeah.
And like, so you can't like, you can't ignore it. You also can't wish it away.
Right.
You have to like accept it and actually grapple with it in a real way, and then, say what it is and provide an alternative that makes more sense, and, build systems that hopefully, hold up stuff that you like and not things that you don't like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, people should be allowed to read Mein Kampf, but I should be allowed to go like, hey, those ideas are incorrect. Just a heads up. You know what I mean? I don't want to censor these guys.
Yeah.
You should be allowed to say a racist joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You should also be able to call it out and go, that joke's fucking racist, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I just wish that more people knew. I truly think that people are like, they don't think it's racist, and then they listen to these things for a while, and they're like, then they just are, because they think that jokes are a form of speech in a vacuum with no meaning.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's just a joke, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then they end up internalizing deeply transphobic or whatever.
The joke does mean something, and it contains a payload that goes into a person and can like lodge there.
It's like when you feed a dog medicine and you wrap it in like bacon. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a bad metaphor because it's medicine, and as if like bacon
when
is
you
a
feed
joke.
A dog
and
poison.
And I was gonna say it's like as if the medicine is transphobia. Incorrect. Okay, bad metaphor. But the point is the idea of like, they're trying to like, you slide an idea past. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you trying to slide past people with your comedy? What are you trying to get to them?
Hopefully the opposite direction. Like I am very earnestly doing subtextual ideas, by being like a white guy. But I'm talking about like my love for like butterflies and stuff like that. That is subtextually, that's a feminine aesthetic thing to be into.
Yeah.
And I am aware of that. And I'm trying to offer an alternative path for white boys along the lines of, like more of like in the Joe Pera type angle of like, you don't have to be those shitty guys. You know what I mean?
My friend Emily Heller, who is a wonderful comic. It's been a little while since she's done stand-up. She's been doing TV writing for a couple of years, but she's a great comic. And we were talking about this stuff once, and we were talking about why we do comedy. And I forget what I said, but she said, I'm just doing comedy because I want people to know that someone like me exists. And I was like, oh, that's really great. I wish I got to do that.
What's your reason?
Well, I think now it is that,
Cool.
I think I've like more found the parts of myself that I'm like, oh yeah, I do feel a little different from other people, or different from a traditional like white male masculinity or something, that I am trying to just sort of like be to people like, hey, this is how I am. And like, there's a different way should you choose,
Absolutely. You're very like, I mean, like very on its face, like talking about neurodivergence.
Mhm.
Like it's not subtextual. It's the context of your last.
Yeah.
Like,
And my new hour is about sexuality and stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, the trade is that I gotta watch it and punch it up. No.
Yeah, go ahead. I would love to hear your punch up thoughts, because you're one of my favorite comics. Where can people find more of your shit, man, to see you?
I'm around the streets. Find me on the streets. I am walking around town. I'm Feld Frog on everything. It's my last name, Feld, but then the word frog instead of man. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, the other various social media platforms. Watch my stand-up comedy on YouTube.
That's great. Thanks so much for being here, Benny. You're the best.
Thanks, man. This is a lot of fun. You're the man, dude. Let's rock and roll. Hell
Rock and roll. Well, thank you to Benny Feldman for coming on the show. Once again, if you want to see both of us on stage together, well, head to the Bell House in Brooklyn on November 15th for New York Comedy Festival. And just as a reminder, I'm also going to be at Tacoma, Washington, Spokane, Washington, Des Moines, Iowa, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Atlanta, Georgia. Head to adamconover.net for all those tickets and tour dates. If you want to support the show directly, head to patreon.com/Adam Conover. $5 a month gets you every episode ad-free. For $15 a month, I will read your name in the credits, or at least I'll read some of your names in the credits. And if you subscribe for $15 a month for a while, eventually I'll get to yours. This week, I want to thank Robert Fuss, Game Grumps, the famous Game Grumps from YouTube. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Paul McCollum, Rick J. Nash, Howard and Kevin, Fatih Merkin, Darren K., and Matthew Reimer. If you want me to read your name, silly username, or business name at the end of my show, head to patreon.com/Adam Conover. We would love to have you there at any level you decide to support the show. I want to thank my producers, Sam Roudman and Tony Wilson, everybody here at HeadGum for making the show possible. Thank you so much for listening, and we're going to see you next time on Factually.
That was a HeadGum podcast.